Hey, everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Alice.
Hey now.
Greg, what are you doing here?
Hey, what do you mean? Allison,
Where do you come from, Greg?
I came from the world of Childish, and I just want to make sure that your listeners know that you're just as wonderful on the other podcast you do.
What if they don't have kids?
Don't need them. You don't need them. A lot of our listeners actually tell us they don't have kids. We talk about sex.
We talk about all sorts of dirty stuff,
Yeah.
but also parenting stuff.
Yeah, so.
Check out Childish. New episodes every Wednesday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Maybe I should have got it fixed. Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, we'll have the good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison's your new best friend.
Hey, everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Very excited to have my friend, and I think this is her third time being a guest, although she's been on many, many times on the Thursday show, but her third one-on-one Monday interview. It's Alie Ward. You know her as the host of the very entertaining and very educational science podcast, Ologies. She's also the host of the CW's Did I Mention Invention? She's a correspondent on CBS's Innovation Nation. She's a science friend on Netflix's Brainchild. She is a consulting producer on a number of science shows, including Michelle Obama's new show, and she is a co-host on 100 Humans. My intention was to do that without looking at this piece of paper, and I have already failed. I don't want to start the podcast on such a negative note, but Alie Ward, hello and welcome.
Hi. Is this my third time as a Monday guest?
Yeah, because you were on in 2017. You were
Yes, I
on
remember.
in 2019. I just saw the date today. It was December 19th, 2019. It was right before the world changed.
Yes. Oh my God, that's right. I remember. I feel like I came into your studio and I was like, was this the time when I could smell my own pits and I stole your deodorant?
Yes. No, you didn't steal it. I offered it. I had,
That was very nice
yeah,
of
just
you.
just so people don't think that I leave deodorant around my studio, although not that that's a bad thing to do. I had a sponsor at the time, and it was a deodorant, and I had a sample that they had sent me in the studio because it smelled really good. So during the theme song, you did sniff your pits, and then you commented that you had forgotten to apply deodorant, and I was like, I have this unused deodorant. Do you want it? So yeah.
Sure
and then
thing.
also you worried you had a cold. So you were, and this was back before germophobia was hip. And so you were like using like a little Clorox sheet and cleaning off everything. It was you were ahead of your time.
Pre-Pando.
I know.
I mean, who knows? Maybe I was an early adopter.
I think you
maybe
were.
you were a disruptor.
Had it first. Maybe.
knows?
Do you think you've had it?
I don't know. I mean, I think I had like a flu in December 2019, but I rarely get sick. But I think my immune system's so run down, it just doesn't bother anymore. It's just like, if you take us out, that's fine. But I don't think I've had it before, but I have had my nose probed. Do you know how many times you've gotten a COVID test? I'm sorry to start us off on a COVID, but
That's okay. It's, you know what, for people who are like, I don't want to talk about COVID. First of all, I don't think anyone listening to an episode with Alie Ward would feel that way because they know you're everyone's science friend. And second of all, it's what's going on in the world. I've lost track. I think maybe like 5 or 6 tests probably.
Yeah.
I bet you've had like way more than that.
I think maybe I'm up in the 10s. But I had one that, wow. They're getting even. I had one that went so far back into my brain, and I've had the brain ones before.
Oh,
but
I have never had that.
Oh, I had one where she's like, "Have you had these before?" And I was like, "Bitch, yes." Thank you. And she was like one of those nurses that was so sweet. She's like, "Hi, sweetie." I'm like, "Oh, I love you so much."
I love that too.
Oh, I love when they call me sweetie.
Isn't that
it really
weird?
works for me.
Same. I love when people call me honey, baby, or sweetie. And then I feel like, but I feel like I shouldn't. Like, aren't I supposed to want to be seen as an adult? So why is that affection? Why does it just fill the empty spaces inside me?
I think it's really like consider the source, you know?
Yeah.
If a doctor came in and was like, sweetie, don't worry about it, I'd be like, fuck you, I'm a woman. But if it's like a nurse, especially one even younger than me, that's like, okay, sweetie, I'm like, everyone's so nice to me here. Like, I don't know. But she was like, it was one of the things where you go drive your car up and then she's like, all right. She's like, this is kind of a new one. It's a little bit more slim, so it does hurt more. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense physically, but okay. And she was like, about to jam it. And she was like, you know what, sweetie, you might just want to put your head against your headrest to brace yourself.
Oh my
And I was like,
God.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, it was intense. COVID negative. But you know what they did? They they just spoiled my own story. But they called and left a message. They're like, this is the doctor from urgent care. If you can give me a call about your test results. And I
Oh
was like-
God.
so then I was like, well, how many people do I have to tell that I maybe could have seen in, you know, in grocery stores? Do I have to call Sprouts and be like, hey, I've got COVID. But I called and they're like, yeah, I just want to say you're all negative. And I was like,
I thought that you leave positive information, you have to call for negative information. Isn't
That's what
that
I
what
thought too.
television has? You've been on Grey's Anatomy. Isn't that what
that's what you
they
do.
teach? Okay,
Shonda
wait.
says so. Anyway, that's
Can
enough
we-
COVID talk for now.
Just one more
Oh, yeah.
follow up. Can we talk about the thin probe being more painful? I don't understand that.
Me neither. I was like, long, yes. Thin, why?
Because are they
And I don't-
like jabbing it into? I don't get it. But anyway, what does it feel like? Because I've only had the spit swabs, the cheek swab.
Oh, God. It feels like you are going down on a pipe cleaner that has lost its fuzzy tip. It feels like
Ow.
you're absolutely performing very pornographic acts on a sharp piece of metal.
What do you do with
It's
your
like
nose, Allie?
And you're like, it's like through your nose and down your throat.
Oh,
and
I
you're
see.
like, yeah. And then just like so much like coughing and like you're like Harlequin with like one eye of mascara like all the way down and the other's completely intact. Like whichever nasshole
Right.
they went for is a disaster. Yeah. And then it's over. And while it's happening, you're like, this is horrible. I don't want to live anymore. Why is this happening to me? Why? And then after like 20 seconds after, you're like, that was bad, not too bad. And then 5 minutes later, you're like, do it again. I think it's like childbirth.
That I was just gonna say. Gonna say that is because as Elliot was coming out of my vagina, I might have told you this before. I've said it before, but I was like, I'm never, ever, ever, ever doing this again.
Yeah.
And then I remember like a few weeks later, I was already thinking about the next time I do this, there are things I want to do differently. And I was like, thank God biology just Men in Blacks your memory.
Yeah.
Do you know, is the swab for the flu, is that also the brain pan one? Because Elliot, before COVID, was sick and they tested him for flu. And I remember them kind of like swirling a little thing up his nose, but I couldn't tell how far it went because it's just a little kid and everything's little. But he did like kind of go like, he like did a wince, not like in pain, but just like that was a weird feeling.
If he didn't start a diary about it, it probably wasn't the nasopharyngeal. If he's not currently seeing a therapist to discuss it, because the nasopharyngeal one is the one where it goes through your sinuses, and then there's just like I think they can also just like do kind of a
nasal
candy
swab.
cane, or what is it called, cotton candy of snot around the rim. You know what I mean? And I think that's not so bad.
Yes. Okay. So there's so much to talk about with you, Allie. You just taught me something that is so important in these Zoom times, which is that in preferences on Zoom, now some people are like, you can enhance your looks. You can enhance your appearance. You didn't know that? Of course, I invented that, bitches. Of course I knew that. No, but I didn't know that you could like play around with eyebrows, hair bows. You can change your lipstick. And the eyebrows did not look good on me, but the lipstick, I'm not wearing it right now, but it looked pretty good. YouTube.com/Allison Rosen, where you can see what we look like minus these filters as of right now. But wow, Allie, what fun.
I mean, what you do is you go into video settings, you look for the fourth one down is background and filters, right? You're going to find all kinds of emojis you can put on your face. This is where lawyers get in trouble being like, I'm not a cat. That's like where
I
you
love
do
that.
that.
Yeah.
And then at the very bottom of that, there's something that says Studio Effects Beta. And I have just put like a very dusty goatee on myself.
I know.
You can thicken your eyebrows. It's wild.
Okay.
y'all.
I'm going to do it as well. Ooh. Okay. So now I have also added, so I'm going to change my eyebrows. I'm adding some facial hair and
Looking
I'm going to, thank you. Thank you. Oh, here we go. And I'm going to add a pale pink lip. Oh, so Alie is a pig. I mean, no offense.
No, I am.
Interesting. You know what's interesting, Alie? We both have the same facial hair. We both chose like this is like it's like Rob Lowe and St. Elmo's Fire, maybe. Like in the 80s, we are men who wear earrings and play saxophone.
Yeah.
And I had a crush on us, probably.
Yeah.
Wait, where's
We're wearing a goatee that definitely is a groomsman at a wedding that you're getting pressured to hook up with.
Yes.
That you do not want to hook up with.
No.
I'm wearing pig's ears that are animated.
Where did
heavy
you get
eyebrows.
those? I don't.
Those are just in the weird emoji area.
I don't think I have that area.
Yeah, maybe different people have different ones. But just so you know, you can saunter in to your Zoom meetings looking absolutely batshit, and it's so fun.
What do you think of my lips now? They're
Let's see.
purple, blue.
Amazing.
Okay.
I would.
Oh,
if I didn't.
a hydrangea on your head.
Thank you. I think it looks good.
Madonna hates hydrangeas, but I like them.
Really? Everyone hates Madonna, so hydrangeas doesn't care.
Okay.
Anyway, so this is just how you do it. We're learning new things. I'm so happy to teach you something that might make your Zoom calls
so much
even more
fun.
Entertaining.
And
But yeah.
also, full disclosure, while I try to figure out how to get rid of all this stuff. Oh, it's me again, right?
Okay.
Those are my brows.
Yeah.
Okay. You early on in the pandemic, and do you have a cute pandemic name like the Pandy or the Pandem, or I don't really. Quarantimes.
I've tried so hard to make fetch happen with the term anti-pandy.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like anti is before, like antediluvian means like before the flood, right?
Right.
Before Noah's
Antebellum.
Ark flood. So, yeah. So, anti-pandy. Nobody wants to use it.
Do they want a prey pandy?
Après? Ooh, après pandy.
Post-pan?
I don't know.
Post-pan? Pan-
Post-panned.
Anyway, at the beginning of all of this, I turned to you for some advice on how to do remote recordings because I never did them and you do them all the time. And you totally talked me through it and calmed me down. So thank you very much.
Happy to help in these trying times.
It really still is, though, a clusterfuck. With you, it has been easy because you're a pro, but it still feels like a clusterfuck every single time. What about for you on Ologies?
Oh, a little bit. I mean, I don't think people who listen to podcasts understand necessarily how many tech diffs we are going through each week. Like, if you don't notice a lot of things sounding terrible, then thank your podcasters, because there are so many like echoes I've had to clean up after the fact because someone's headphones were too loud or not on, or if people come in and out of the room, or their microphone clicks and you can't hear it until you get into post. So
yes,
I was up until 4:30 in the morning this week with one of my sound editors, who's also my fiance. Just cleaning audio echoes on a 2-hour interview. So if you don't notice, you're welcome. You know what I mean?
Yes. I had a situation where I'm like, how many clicky bracelets are you wearing and how many buttons are they rubbing on, and why can't, but I don't see it. I don't see stuff hanging off your jacket, but that's what it sounds like.
I know. And you know what's weird too is I'm doing all of my interviews over a platform where we don't have video. So we're just doing audio. And what I've realized is I have to cut out me enthusiastically going, because they can't see my facial expressions. And so I'm like giving audio cues, like I'm listening and that's interesting.
Right.
Where I normally just would have shut my trap and done that with my, as I'm like hitting my microphone, I would have done that with my dumb face. And instead I'm doing it audio wise and I'm like, I sound like I'm interrupting. So I have to like go in and cut them out. So yeah, we're doing all kinds of stuff behind the scenes.
So wait, how come you choose to record without video?
I started using Cast first, which is like an interface, and I don't know, I should do video. I think I might have to start soon doing video, but I think part of it is just out of pure laziness because I just like don't want to bathe every day. You know?
I feel like I put on makeup more now than back before. Does that make sense? Yes. I guess it does. I don't know.
When you say before, you mean anti-pandy.
Anti-pandy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, thanks. Sorry, I wasn't sure what you meant.
I meant the anti.
Okay, sorry. Thanks. I just used the terminology of science.
Right. Yeah. I was being more cash about it.
Got it. I'm just used to.
But wait, now in the anti-pandy, you also used Cast, or is that a pandy thing?
No, that's a totally pandy thing. I would only do a remote interview if it was really timely and the person was like living on an iceberg somewhere and they were never going to get off it. So I rarely did remote interviews. I always would show up somewhere with like a little satchel of equipment, and I would meet people at 9 p.m. in a hotel conference room in Cincinnati to talk about like coffins or whatever, which is exactly what I did for the death episode with Cole and Perry. But I never met her before, but because I was like in Cincinnati, you live in Cincinnati, great. So but the cool thing is now I am talking to more scientists that I would have said like, when I get to Tasmania, we're definitely doing an episode, that now I'm just like, great. But yeah, there's good and bad. I'm just so lucky to be able to work from home and be able to work at all. And the only thing about all of this that's really hard is I feel like I definitely don't want to complain that I'm lucky that I have all these jobs, but I'm also so tired. Like, I feel like I've been working more during this, even though I've been traveling less. And so I just am so disappointed that I haven't really fully rested.
Right.
Why can't I find, and it's not a workload thing. I think it's just my brain isn't capable.
Well, this is kind of an ongoing problem that you face,
completely.
Right? I think ever since I've known you, you've talked about stuff like this. All right, now, and also I know that when I last talked about you, you wanted to conquer procrastination.
Yes.
Have you?
No. No, I'm trying so hard. I'm getting a little bit better at it by starting things earlier, but I'm definitely seeing that my avoidance when something is high stakes is like it's so frustrating that I know the part of my brain doing it. I know that there's this amygdala. It's saying this is dangerous. You're going to start this project. It's going to suck. And then everyone is going to kill you with sticks. And that is like, that's what my brain is saying.
Right.
So you're better off just not failing. And then before, I do like tier 2 stuff instead. So no, that's still open. It's still open on my little book. My little binder. I don't have my binder with me. Allison, we always talk about my tiny binder.
Your tiny binder inspired me to get a tiny binder. Where is your tiny binder?
It's in the other room. You want me to get it?
Yes, please.
Okay, BRB.
Okay.
Hold on. Sing while I'm gone.
Okay.
Sing while I'm gone, or I will.
Actually, while she's gone, I'll give you guys a little glimpse of some of the old drops that we have of hers that I don't believe have played on the show. So.
Burrito butt. All about butts. Okay.
Oh.
This is even more fun.
Okay.
Okay.
Do my boobs look weird?
Okay, so for anyone who has anxiety induced like procrastination or problems with executive functioning, people with ADHD also maybe go through this where they're like, I time manage, I need to like stay focused on a task, right? I want to show you the 3 things I've been trying recently that haven't worked.
Oh, wonderful. Failures. Okay. Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. So number 1, my tiny binder still always works. This is still great. I have a calendar up top. I mark which days I actually exercise to incentivize myself. I keep notes of what I do in the day. I also have my to-do list, right? Tiny binder totally works. Some days I don't stick to everything, but it definitely helps.
You have like your goals and stuff like that in there too, right? It's sort of like
just every day, like this stuff I'm supposed to do. I include the stuff I'm going to do that day. I sometimes will draw little pictures if I want to remember what I did that day, and just because I like drawing little doodles. And I'll make a little thing that looks like a cloud, and I'll write like what kind of mindset I was in. Like,
let's hear some mindsets.
Oh my God! Okay,
please.
Lonely ?
Oh,
I was like missing friends because I didn't go out on a hike with them. Feeling pretty good. Nice to have a clean house. Does mom have COVID? Stressed. Turns out she didn't.
Oh, good.
Hold on. So I like write things that like either stress me out. Okay, worked a lot. Got sad toward the end because of like parental stuff. My parents were possibly sick. Distracted at certain things. So like just kind of like got up really early and was in a good mood because I got up early and got stuff done. So I just like write things down that way if I'm like, I seem like I'm off track, you know?
Is the goal, now is the goal so you can track, so you can figure it all out?
No, just so during the day I have like a compass. Because sometimes my brain goes too fast but doesn't know what direction it's going. So I need to like look at something that says, what am I doing next? Either what time is it? What am I doing? And I just to keep me on track. And I also will write down like my medications. I'll write like a little bubble with the medication. That way I can fill them in and I remember
That's
if I've
good.
taken them or not.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. So this helps a ton. I still have it. I have different little sections in it that's like notes that I take for different projects I'm working on. And it's cool that it's a binder because I can just clean stuff out. So that is my binder. We are going 4 years strong. Wow. With the binder system.
I should be interviewing the binder about you.
Oh, it's probably like, this bitch ignores me for a week at a time and then doesn't get anything done. No, I love this though. I made a new collage on the front.
I
of
love
things that
it.
make me happy.
Is that coffee?
Yeah, there's like coffee. This is so stupid. I like cut out all these little pictures from magazines.
I love it.
And
I love a collage.
I love it. There's like a butterfly. There's some pretty pottery. There's like a cool A-frame. There's some weathered wood. Just things that make me happy.
Sure.
Because
I like
it's
it.
good to have something you want to touch. And then the things that I have attempted.
Yes, the failures.
This works when I use it. I don't always use it. This is something called a time timer. And it's a little clock that you can set. It's essentially like an egg timer, but it doesn't tick. And it's not super, super loud. Because if you've ever tried to do something called the Pomodoro Method,
Yes.
it's where have you tried that?
No, I've thought about it. I haven't actually done it. But I know what it is.
It's half the battle.
Yeah.
It's half the battle.
Thinking about it?
Yeah, you work for like 25 minutes and then you're off for 5 minutes. And
Right.
it just makes you take a break so that you can kind of refresh. You don't get burned out. So I got this little time timer. And when I use it, it works. A lot of days I forget to use it. Anyway, so that's what it sounds like. I also taped some cotton to the back.
I was going to say, it
because
feels
I
a
found
little
that
loud. Yeah.
It's a little loud.
Yeah.
Works when I use it. Don't always use it.
Okay.
The other thing I am trying to do to separate my work and home life.
Oh my God. I feel like I know what this is going to be.
These are 2 rings that I wear. One of them I wear when I'm working. The other I wear when I'm off work. And so I try to like change out a
love
ring.
it.
And then to say, the work day is done. You're now in the pearl zone. I have a little tiny pearl ring.
Yes. Okay. So please, again, youtube.com/Allison Rosen. You can see these rings. Please subscribe while you're there. Which is the work ring?
Work ring is this birthstone ring, a citrine, like a big rock citrine ring.
love
It
it.
reminds me of like science and geology and all sorts of stuff. And I have its little tiny seed pearl ring. And because sometimes when I get under the covers, I feel like a little pearl in an oyster when you're like all, it's like a little gross thing in a gross environment, but for some reason it feels beautiful. So the pearl zone is like, all right, you're off work. So sometimes work and home is difficult to separate your brain. Your brain is like cooks dinner and then wants to go like write another email. And so it's like, no, dude, it's the pearl zone.
Pearl time.
Oh, well. Hi.
Is it the fiance?
Yeah, my coworker just came in.
Now, a lot of people are currently struggling with how to separate out home life and work life when they're work from home. But you have been struggling with that for years.
Yep.
So
It's really tough. I think that there's also something great about just getting ready for work. Like you wake up, you get your coffee, you walk your dog, you drive to the office, you ride the metro or whatever, you listen to Waffles and Mochi or Ologies, for example. And then you get to work and then you get shit done, right? But even when you get to work, it's like, hey man, how you doing? Maybe you get another cup of coffee.
I found, hope no one who ever employed me is listening, but when I would be working in an office, I found there were all sorts of ways to waste time and not get anything done. Some of them being like sanctioned by your bosses, for example, lots of meetings, and then some of them just being like, I can fuck around on email wherever I am.
Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to my therapist, a wonderful therapist, and she was saying, oh, people who, when we work in offices, like we get maybe 4 hours of work done a day. So
Yeah.
to be home and to expect yourself to get 8 hours of work done. And it's also like when you wake up, it's weird to wake up and give yourself 15 minutes before you're at your laptop. You would never do that, like unless you slept under your desk at work. So we kind of are missing those rhythms. So for me, it's really hard. And I find that if I work really late into night, it's not necessarily good work. So it's really hard to tell yourself, like, trust me, if you quit working now, you'll get more done in less time tomorrow, you know?
Do you ever, like, you get in bed and then you're like, oh, fuck, I have the wrong ring on?
No. Because I'm so eager to take the work one off that when I do.
Yeah, maybe
like,
for me it would be like, oh, fuck, I forgot to take my bra off, which has never, in like, that's never happened. I don't think that's ever happened to me. There are
Really?
people who sleep in bras. Are you someone who
I do
sleeps
it
in a
all
bra?
the time. on
Really?
accident. Yeah, all the time. But I don't have much up here.
I don't either.
But I don't know. I fall asleep. If I choose to watch a program and do it in a binging style, before I know it,
I would never do that with a bra on unless I was hanging out with people that are other than in my house. Then I would have a bra. If I was watching TV at someone's house, it took me a while to figure out the insane circumstance that would have to transpire for me to watch TV in a bra.
I thought you were going to say in a war or something.
In a war, yeah,
combat situation,
right.
You wouldn't take.
I
your
might
bra
need to
off.
pop up. I need to pop up in my foxhole, take out an enemy, and then return to my episode of Below Deck. And I wouldn't want to jiggle.
I mean, I was wondering that. Like, I have cowboy cousins who slept in their cowboy boots. Like, they'd just be like, "You got to get. You never know when you want to get up." You know. So I don't know. All kinds of people sleeping, but yeah, I have fallen asleep in a bra so many times, dude. Oh.
Well, that's where you and I are different, despite the fact that we're both named Allison.
It's the only time.
The only
way that we're different.
The only other
way.
than that, we are exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
You mentioned a therapist, and I just wanted to say to everyone, if you're having trouble meeting your goals or difficulty with relationships or trouble sleeping or you're feeling stressed or depressed, BetterHelp is available. BetterHelp offers online professional counselors who can listen and help. You simply fill out a questionnaire to assess your needs, and BetterHelp will match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so it's easy and free to change counselors if needed. I love that aspect of it. So you might be thinking, well, I'm nervous about starting up. That's actually a very common feeling for people who are starting therapy or restarting. Like, I'm nervous about starting up with a new person. What if it's not the right fit? You are not committed. You can change as many times as you want, no charge. So they will get you to the right person. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/bestfriend. Visit BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/bestfriend, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced BetterHelp professional. Okay, Alie Ward. So there's so many like official things I want to talk with you about. Yes.
My therapist, though, is through BetterHelp.
Really?
Yes.
This is
I
quite
love her.
the testimonial. I love that. Was it?
They're an advertiser on my show too, and I was like, well, I've only I use the products that I advertise, and I've been seeing her for a while. She's awesome.
That's
so
great. That's great.
Yeah.
Was she the first one you were matched with, or did it take a few?
No, it took one before, and one was like very, I think, kind of like very Texan, and maybe and we just didn't vibe.
Yeah,
necessarily.
that happens.
And
It can be like just like love. Like, it can be a great person, but it just doesn't feel right for you.
Wasn't maybe the right fit. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm getting out of this what I maybe need to. I have so many friends in Texas. It's not that. I just, maybe we weren't super aligned on everything. Anyway, but my second one was like bullseye. She's awesome.
Amazing. That's so good to hear. Okay, so a million official things I want to ask you about, and yet the thing that is on my mind right now is I know that you were goth. You're a former goth.
Yes.
You had black hair.
Oh, yeah.
The whole goth get up.
Whole thing.
How socially goth were you? And I'll tell you where my question is coming from.
Okay.
I am always shocked when I find out that, and this might reveal things about me, but I'm always shocked when I find out that super successful, nice, warm, wonderful people that I know nowadays were like super popular back in high school, because in my mind, those things are incongruous. It's like, no, the super popular people who were super popular in high school, their life goes one way, and the rest of us who were passed over in high school, now's our time. So when I find out that like someone like Paul Rust, you know who that is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Love him. He was
popular?
He was homecoming king.
What?
Or prom king or something. Thank you.
God.
That's my reaction to Meryl Streep, prom queen or homecoming queen.
No, but both of those people are so nice.
And then
that's what's weird.
Our own Jackie Johnson, whose wedding we both virtually attended. Love her. She was like, yeah, I don't think she was prom king or queen or anything. She might have been like senior superlative. I'm making stuff up now. I don't know. But
Okay.
she recently said, she was like, yeah, I've just always been liked. What can I say? I was like, God damn. But with Jackie, I can see it, because for me, I had these big, like the wave of my confidence was incredibly undulating, and I think that's what that's what leads to whether you are like okay socially in school or not. I think a large part of it is like how confident you are. That can be a thing. So the fact that Jackie was I'm sure she was like every bit as Jackie Johnson from the moment that she exited a womb. I can see where,
honey.
yeah,
She's like, if I'm not homecoming queen here, honey.
yeah.
Let me tell you.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I can see where everyone like she's just had a fine time. Anyway, how was it for you socially is what I want to know. Because if you were also homecoming queen, I'm going to throw myself somewhere.
No. First off. The most O's. I was, okay, in a nutshell, nerds, big virgin, not good skin, no money for things of fanciness. And I worked from the time I was like 15 at a diner. Like I always had a job from before I could drive a car, right? But we lived in this really ritzy town because they had a great school system. So my family like rented different houses for as long as we could to stay in the school system. But the people who lived there tended to be quite Beverly Hills. And so
Got it. Remind me, this was Northern California?
Yeah, Northern California, like East Bay. So like you got a cabriolet on your 16th birthday. You went to Cancun.
That's what I wanted. So, okay, we are so in the same bubble. But I mean, I was not up there, but my dream was to have a white cabriolet with a surfboard and a surfer in it.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Didn't come close to
that was because that's OC, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And we always used to joke that when you were 16, you would get a Jeep or a Jetta, depending on if you were born.
That's like, hella cool.
Hella cool. It's like Jetta girls. And people wore, like designer clothes and stuff. And that just like was not my strata. And so my good like goth friends were all kind of like the weird feminist, nerdy virgins that were like, would go to Goodwill and wear like old weird military boots and drive jalopies. And so as a result, like I was like very anti-establishment in high school. So it was like running like a feminist club and trying to get free tampons for all the women in the school because, it wasn't fair that we had to pay for them or there weren't tampon machines, like whatever. And I ended up giving a valedictory speech.
You were valedictorian?
And I was like one of 5 that were invited to give like a valedictory. I didn't have the best grades, but I was like, I did pretty well. And then they were like, go ahead and talk. But anyway, I ended up giving a speech about how small our community was and how big the world was and how much everything mattered more than our town, which was like not very nice.
Yeah, but it's true.
So I was the opposite. I was like the antithesis of a homecoming queen, where I was the one on stage telling everyone that none of it mattered.
Right. I love that is just so Generation X. I fucking love it.
It was very Janine Garofalo.
Yes.
It was very Fiona Apple. It was very like, wow, watch this black lipstick. Watch the acid words coming out of between these blackberry lips. Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah, I was not popular is the short answer.
So now how do you feel about yourself now? That's a really big question.
No, it's such a good question. Imagine if people asked each other that more. Ugh, you would get so many answers that would probably surprise people even who are answering that. I feel more like myself than I think I have in a really long time. I had a really hard time coming down to LA where I felt like myself in the Bay Area. You know, like combat boots out looking for salamanders and, you know, feeling tied into, you know, social justice and coming down to LA, I struggled with it for a really long time because I just felt like I had to be something that was much more palatable. And I didn't feel like myself a lot. I remember, especially doing on-camera stuff, because I have blue eyes, and I remember thinking, people would say, "Oh, you look so good in blue. Your eyes really look good." So anytime I'd have like a meeting, I would wear like a light blue shirt. That would be like, "Wow, her eyes." And I remember just being like, at one point being like, I have so many light blue shirts and I only wear them when there's like a work thing. I'm like, I don't even like these shirts. Who wears these? Like, goth Alie would never be like, "Do you like my blouse?"
Yeah.
It felt so desperate. So it took me a long time to feel like myself in LA. I always feel like myself instantly when I'm out of LA, but just living here, I think when I started volunteering at the Natural History Museum, I felt like I like reconnected with who I was instead of who I felt like I had to be.
Right.
And so yeah. So I think right now I do feel like myself, and I like myself more than I have in a long time. Especially doing Ologies, I feel like I can really be myself in it. Because doing kids TV, you can't talk about buttholes as much, and you can't like make gross jokes. But I feel like Ologies listeners, like, I'm pretty sure that they like me for who I am. I hope
it must be. I'm sure they do. I mean, it must be so rewarding to create something that's entirely your own, and then to just watch it take off. Like the New Yorker just wrote about you.
I know. I don't even read that. I'm not smart enough to read the New Yorker, but
I know Rachel Syme wrote it, and I worked at Page 6. Do you know her?
Yeah, only from
Just
this.
from that. Yeah, I worked at Page 6 magazine. I was actually her editor there for a little bit of time, so I knew her back before the New Yorker happened. But yeah, she's just a phenomenal writer, and I was so excited to see you in there.
My God, I was so thrilled. It's so funny too. I'm drinking right now a giant goblet of LaCroix and kombucha.
Okay.
So I'm sorry for this.
No, it's okay.
And Jarrett just came home, and I just saw him from across the kitchen holding up kombucha, being like, "Do you want a kombucha? And, like, do you want a kombucha margarita?" And I'm like, "I guess it is dark on a Friday." I was like, I suppose. I just had a small one. Might as well. We don't drink very much, but what do we do? Sure. It's Friday night.
Does he want to pop his head in? I mean, I am on YouTube.
Oh yeah, Jarrett, you want to come say hi real quick? It's Alice and Rosen.
He won't be able to hear me, but
it's okay. I'll give him one of these. Maybe when he delivers it, he'll come say hi.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it must. Go ahead.
No, it feels really cool to feel like you can show up as like your whole self, and to be kind of open about like, I always feel like I need to be working. I mean, that's a weird thing about like the as much as I work and as much as my like anxiety about it is just I just don't want to do a bad job. Like I don't want to disappoint anyone, and so I am good at chilling if the project is not something I care about. But if it's something that I really care about, I'm like, man, I don't want to. I understand how lucky I am, and I don't want to squander that opportunity like by getting lazy or something. You know,
who do you think? You ultimately like, whose approval are you trying to win? Who are you trying to please? And I was trying to figure that out for myself today. Like, am I still, ultimately, is it still my mom and dad that I want to, in wanting the world to acknowledge me? Like, what really is that? What do you think it is for you? And I don't mean to say it has to be something unhealthy like that.
No. I think for a long time it was and has been my mom and dad. I think, like we didn't grow up with a ton of money. We were pretty just middle class, living in an upper class neighborhood. But, I always thought about like how much it cost to raise a kid. And I'm like, damn, we are draining them. They got to feed us. We got to put shoes on us, all that stuff. And so I always really wanted to make sure that they were taken care of, and so, cause they sacrificed so much. And so I think I've always been like, you have to make enough money to take care of yourself, but also them. And so I think one thing about Ologies that's been great is I wasn't expecting it to be a success, like financially, like it has been. And being able to, tell them I got you has been really. Sorry, there is ice happening.
That's okay.
In the kitchen.
Very rewarding.
I'm like crying. But no, so I think that there is something that's maybe not super healthy, being like, if I don't provide, then will I still be as valuable, And so I think that, and I think it happens too a lot in like family dynamics where maybe one kid is like, you can be the rebel, and then the other one is like, okay, you're the rebel. All right. My role is going to be like, anything you guys need. I'm just over here being quiet, and I don't have any needs. I'm just going to suppress them and wear all black and make speeches at graduation.
So did you have a sibling who got to be the rebel?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. My older sister was like textbook 80s rebel. Like she nailed the dismount on the 80s rebel. Why, thank you, sir. Are you going to come and say hi? He just handed me this too with nail stickers on. We did our nails the other day.
Oh.
So yeah, say hi to Alice and Rose.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi.
This is my fiance.
Hold on, wait, let me use it here.
Hello. I don't think I've
Fiance.
ever actually met you, but I've heard about you and I've seen your photo. Hello and congratulations. Excellent engagement.
Hold on, I have to get the headphones. Wait, let me get some other headphones.
Get one of these. Get this one.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
do
yeah.
this? Oh yeah, that'll work.
Look at
That'll
this.
work. Oh yeah, look. Okay, good.
Is this cute or what?
High tech.
Super cute. Look at you guys. It's like you're using the love seat of earphones.
Yeah.
Yes, he just brought me a 6:15 Friday kombucha Rita. It's the best drink. It's the best drink. But yeah, we did nail stickers the other day.
Oh yeah, I was joking that we accidentally did Matrix colors because I was red pill and blue pill, and she's all black and green.
Yeah. But
Nice.
Very embarrassing.
we're passing the pandemic the best we can. But yeah, so far so good. We don't know when we're going to get married.
Jarrett,
Yes.
what do you think of Allie's ring system where she has the ring for work and then the pearl ring for when she's off?
No, I appreciate this. I appreciate it. I think it's very I don't know, it's like very, very Mr. Rogers in the best possible way. You know?
Yeah.
Where he like takes off his cardigan and now he's like, or he puts on his cardigan. I don't know. He like takes off his sweater, puts on his sweater.
He
Yeah, I
changes
just think it's
shoes
nice.
and yeah.
Yeah, you got your work ring and you got your off work ring.
Right.
I try.
You know?
I'm trying.
I mean, gemstones traditionally are very magical, and I think you have to use them like a weird wizard, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Just
It
put them
doesn't-
on for certain functions.
Hey, Jared, who do you think I work so hard for? Why do you think I'm such a whirling dervish?
The
She just asked me this, and I'm asking you to answer.
who are you doing it for?
Yeah.
The little fear demon that lives inside your chest, you know? Well, mine lives right under my lower left rib cage. So
Okay.
maybe I'd look there for demons.
Okay.
Mine
just
lives like in my
appeasing-
lower belly, I'd say.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I genuinely think if you think about it, I've just always been very sure it's like right where basically my opposite of my liver, you know? Like that weird. I just been very sure of it. That's where like all my.
Is that where someone took a rib from you to
I don't
to make a
know.
lady? Isn't that?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
a rib from Adam?
Getting very biblical, but if
I
it's on
know.
that side, then maybe it explains a lot in a literary sense. No, I don't know, but I think that you can kind of physically locate where your fear lives, you know,
It's in a chakra.
where your self-hatred lives. Well, I mean, your body stores trauma in weird ways.
Sure.
Like just like all of ours or Allie's specifically.
Everybody's. I mean, everybody's. Your nervous system remembers bad experiences. I mean, the most interesting example of that's like very pragmatic to me is like all day long we sit at computers and you put yourself into a fighting posture without thinking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Your shoulders roll forward, your chin is tucked to your chest. You're in this very defensive, tense posture.
Yeah.
that your body for thousands of years understood as meaning, I need to protect my jugular, I need to protect my brain, I need to survive the fight I'm about to be in. And so you live like curled up like that all day, and then we wonder like why we're so stressed and why we have so much pain and why we can't release tension. And I really think like the whole thing needs to tell you, we're like, hey, if you're in a bad mood, just smile, and like neurons will fire that make you start feeling actually happier. And it kind of works. Like, I just think your body remembers these postures that you stash it in, and it only has like thousands and hundreds of thousands of genetic memories to like draw from like how I should feel in this moment. And then we get confused as to why like we feel certain ways. But your body's just like on its own autopilot thing. My point is that fear and trauma is stored physically, is what I'm saying.
I think
So
you're right.
stretch.
I also go to the bathroom in that position, in my computer position.
Yes,
I mean,
well,
you do.
that,
It's the same position.
yeah, if you think about it, though, that like makes sense. You'd want to be as defended as possible.
Right.
Have you ever seen like, did your dog come try to watch you go to the bathroom?
Yes. Actually,
Okay.
I feel like she's not she wants to be in there with me, but she's not
Right.
like staring into my soul or anything. She's over it.
Yeah, no. Exactly. I don't think it's about staring into your soul. I read once, it sounds like such dog mythology, but I choose to believe it, is that the way you watch your dog when they poo is like a pack animal being like, I got your back.
Yes,
You're
I've heard
safe
that.
to poo. And that like, that's why they want to come watch you poo, so that you know you're safe. So they'll be like, I got you. Don't worry about it.
If that's the
You do
case,
this for me all day long? I'm here.
I need to have a word with my dog Wendy, because she comes in and like instantly lays down and goes to sleep. She'll give me eye contact when she's going to the bathroom. Like you're saying, I read that too. Like they're kind of like, are you keeping a lookout for me?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she is like, bitch, you're on your own. I'm just going to be in this room. Does Grammy...
Yeah, I feel like they're like, they're kind of phoning it in. They get
Yeah.
used to it, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
What does Grammy
poop
do when
talk.
you guys go to the bathroom?
She comes in, but she
If we let her.
if I'm peeing with the bathroom door open, which who doesn't, she will wait until she sees pants drop before she crosses the threshold like a vampire, because she knows that if she's in the bathroom, that's where the bathtub is. But if you're sitting, she's not getting a bath. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she
She's safe,
doesn't
yeah.
trust your motives until she sees you take a seat.
Right.
She's really smart, and then in other ways she's very dopey. But yeah, today I had to wipe her little anus. today.
Doesn't that feel like a breakdown in the system when that happens?
Yes.
That, and when I have to like
Yes.
remove dogs' eye boogers. Like, I said boogers in a really weird way. I said like boogers. Eye boogers.
Yeah.
But that's just our fault. We programmed them so poorly. Like
so?
Grammy had to get some teeth out.
Yeah.
And it's because poodle teeth are too big to be in a little tiny mouth. And they're like, little dogs have a lot of crowding, or like pugs that can't breathe correctly.
Yeah, we've
We've
bred
literally
them. Right.
bred them
No.
in these. So I feel like that's not all their fault. And it's like, well, part of it's that's also kind of like, I always think that's like very beautiful. Like, you know, people are like, some people like will eat a lot of meat, but then the idea of like eating a dog or a horse is like horrible.
Sure.
Yeah,
And
that's most people who eat,
Yeah.
eat meat.
Yeah,
they
most
say.
people, right? Most people. But then I feel like people who will be like, well, why don't you eat your dog? Or why don't if they're like vegetarian, trying to argue vegetarian? And I'm always like, what do you mean? They're completely. It's a species we wouldn't exist without them, and vice versa. Like
Right.
we've been teammates for hundreds of thousands of years. No, we wouldn't. Cave people domesticating
what about
dogs and then
pigs?
horses.
But pigs have
Yeah,
been domesticated.
but we didn't breed them to be peers. We bred them to be food. Whereas like we bred dogs and horses to be teammates.
It is interesting because they say that like dogs and humans evolved together. I never
Right.
thought of it that way. But there are cultures where they eat dogs. So
No,
to
I
them,
know, and I
say,
wonder
what are you
about it.
doing? What's up?
Yeah. And they don't eat cows. By the way,
Right.
thank you for thank you for joining us.
What?
For I was telling Allison, thank you for joining us and Alie and Jarrett discuss ethics of.
Well, no, I know. Sorry, I'm just being insane. I'm just being who I am all the time. But I'm not even arguing that it's right or wrong. I'm just
Right.
saying when people are like, try to do this disingenuous argument of like, well, why aren't they in the same category as every other animal
Right.
too? I'm like, what do you mean? They serve a completely different job. We wouldn't live in the same way we've messed them up. Like they wouldn't have noses and teeth like that.
Sure.
Wait, I have
They've also changed our course of history.
one more question for Jarrett. Was it difficult to keep the engagement a secret from Alie?
It depends on what sense you mean. Was it difficult to keep a secret, like in terms of operational security? Yes. Like,
What does
What does that mean?
like secrets, like there being a leak somewhere in the line and somebody.
Yeah, well, I mean, you designed a whole ring and planned a whole thing, and she didn't know about it.
Yes.
So
you know what's funny about it is usually that's really hard for me to be like to keep it. Like if I get someone a gift or make them a gift, I really want to just go give it to them right away. But for some reason with this one, I think because it was so project intensive, it was so like iterations, and it just, I don't know, it just felt like this secret project that was going to take a while to finish. Mm-hmm. And I think it all just like, I got so in project, like hyper-focused project mode that I didn't even think about being stressed or afraid until like we were on the way to the spot. I just like kind of like made the plan in my head. I was like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. And then as we were going there, I started to be like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is so real. What if she says no? Oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh, yeah. You know, it just became... And I was acting so weird in the car ride.
Yeah, you're acting really weird.
Like how?
And so I think I just like hyper focused on the project and the plan, and it didn't become like weird emotional in my guts. Like, don't tell her. Oh my gosh, look at that. It just was like, no, this is the plan. There, dates and numbers. And then I was like, oh my God, it's the day. But I don't know. I think I just intellectualize sometimes emotions like that when they're too big. You know what I mean?
I loved how afterward I was like, God, I guess we got to figure out when we're going to get married. And you're like, I forgot there's like a wedding too.
I was just like, I was just focused on like making the ritual magic bond of giving you a gem and binding our souls for all eternity. That part sounded cool. The whole part about like, oh gosh, we're gonna have to like plan, like send out invitations and stuff. That's so annoying. You know?
I know. We were just looking at like a list of like, okay, what would a small wedding look like? And we're like, okay, a small one with just like literal, just family members, immediate family members would be like 25 or 30. Anyway, so
that's what we did. It was 28 people.
But I mean, that would be
very tiny, just family.
I was just saying, Alie,
2 friends.
I guess what I feel like is weird is like, I would think that for a big party that's very important to me, I would hate for it to be more restrictive than like a barbecue, where I would just see somebody at the store and be like, hey, come to the barbecue. Like I'd want them to like, come to the party.
So
you know what I mean?
I will say we do wish that we had had a bigger wedding.
Really? See, you pulled away to hear that.
No, my leg was asleep.
She said that she wishes they had a bigger wedding.
We do wish we had. Yeah, we fell in love with a venue that was just outside of our price range, and we were like, I was like, I've got to find a way to make it work, and and then I also started getting, honestly, like, I don't mind sharing this. My dress was sleeveless. I don't normally wear sleeveless things. I'm not confident about my arms, even though like I was skinny then, but I didn't think I was. And all of a sudden in the planning process, I all of a sudden was like, I don't want to wear this dress in front of Adam Carolla. Like it just began to feel, I began to feel so like vulnerable, and I started getting nervous about having a big wedding. And I'm like, you know what? This is like, it's the answer to everything is just, that's how we just make it just family. But
yeah.
There's a lot of people where I'm like, oh, I can't believe they weren't at our wedding, because they weren't invited. But
that's kind of where I'm like, I for the actual ritual, like whatever, thing, that sounds nice to just have close family. But it just was like, I think Alie and I both have anxiety, and we were talking about it, and I was like, the thought that I would be at my wedding and be more worried about like, oh, so-and-so, this random person I just thought of who's my friend, who's always thought we were really good friends, is not going to be like, oh, I guess I'm not a wedding friend though. You know what I mean? I just was thinking about that, like where I'm going to draw the line, and it gave me so much anxiety. I just like hate that notion. You know what I mean?
Right.
I said to Alie, I was like, we both have a lot of friends that I think we have really meaningful connections with. And for me, at least, some of my closest friendships are ones where it's like, I don't see them for a really long time, and then we just pick up where we left off. I think it comes from like having like, chaotic family life. You're just like, I love you, and I don't know when I'll see you again, and when I do, I do. And I'm like, what about all those people? Just because I don't talk to them every day, I'd like them to be for this big event. So I think that's like, we're just in the midst of discussing this.
You could do small, meaningful ceremony, big celebration.
Okay,
you should pitch your thing. I'm going to get off because I feel like I'm just like rolled in here and this is insane. And please explain the idea. Okay, bye.
I love you.
Bye.
Of course. Sorry, that was Look, I just did some acupuncture. I'm feeling really.
Oh, he just got back from acupuncture. We have this amazing acupuncturist who does it outside.
Oh, nice.
Double masked, and she changes out scrubs every time, and so it's like the safest way to do it. And she is a needle witch. She is amazing. So yeah, he just got back from acupuncture. My fiance just got back.
I
from
know.
acupuncture.
I had never met him. I'd only knew of him.
Oh, yeah, he's a goober. He's the best. He makes nothing boring. Everything is interesting all the time. So he's great. He has opinions he has opinions and curiosities about pretty much everything. So
That's great.
yeah, he's very smart and super funny, and he incredibly goofy. He's a big doof.
He can hear you, right?
Probably. Can he? He's in the other room. We usually wear noise canceling headphones a lot, so there's a lot of what?
So, maybe we'll just have to save that. So you came on my show for a Patreon episode, and where you really spilled the beans.
I spilled some beans.
Some
baby.
very personal beans. Some beans that occurred in a forest.
Oh yeah, some favas.
Some very personal beans. So patreon.com/AllisonRosen if you want to hear Alie Ward's extremely personal beans. But I want to know, and I think I asked you this last time, but I'm always wanting to know, but you can't answer now probably. I wanted to know, like, how did he transform from the bad boyfriend to the gent you're going to marry? Maybe we should just save that for Patreon?
I mean, in a nutshell, an ADHD diagnosis. Like, he just was like, yeah, I mean, I have anxiety. I take medication for it. It helps a lot. He did not know he had ADHD until like 32. And so all of these things that were things that I kind of perceived as character flaws or that were hurtful, just seeming like, maybe he doesn't. Yeah, like people with ADHD can talk a mile a minute and forget to ask you how your day was. And I'm like, wow, you're a dick. And then it turns out like, oh no, that's just like, that's an ADHD thing. And so there's a lot of getting to see who he is and how much that's a part of like these amazing, like firework brain, like brain goes 1,000 miles a minute, can be super interested in things, all of that, but understanding some of the things that would hurt my feelings that were like not intentional. Or another thing about ADHD is like super reactive to like rejection at all. And so, before we knew that, if, you didn't want to hang out, he would get so sad or get so like, what did I do wrong? What did I do?
Right.
Just drama that doesn't happen anymore. So, and also when I met him, he was 25 and he had one girlfriend in his whole life. And I was like, with this huge age gap. And I was like, go go sow some oats and like live some life, because
You called him a green banana and it hurt his feelings.
Yeah. There's some rejection sensitivity with that. And you asked me a question right before that, and I already can't remember what the question was. What was
right
it?
Before he came in?
No. Right before I answered that one. Was it about wedding stuff?
Well, I think he had said to you, tell me your wedding idea.
Oh, yes. Okay, do you want to hear my pitch?
Yes, please.
Here's the deal. So you have a small wedding, right? With like family, a couple close friends, right? But not everybody has to get you a gift, because when you go to a lot of weddings, it's a lot of gifts, right?
Right.
And you have like a small one that's like meaningful, but you do kind of a documentary about it. And so, have you ever gone to someone's wedding? And you're like, I don't know them well enough to know, like, how did they meet? Did they ever break up? Like,
I don't know their story. Yeah.
I don't really know their story. And a lot of times at weddings, their second cousin reads 1 Corinthians, but like you don't even really hear the bride and groom speak,
right.
And like the college roommate does a really great speech, but like you don't hear a lot about the actual people getting married.
Right.
Like
it's almost like a funeral.
I know. It's like the one at a funeral. It's my funeral. I don't even get to talk. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was talking about me.
Yeah.
Sucks. You need a pre-recorded funeral.
Yes.
Like, here's why I was awesome. No, but like, so with a wedding, like you have a small one, you do kind of a documentary style. You learn more about them. You learn more about like what their relationship is like, right? And then afterward, you do like a screening.
Ooh.
It's the first time you're seeing it all put together, and you invite like everyone you want to. You watch like an hour long, like this is what the wedding looked like. This is like their backstory. Here's some old photos. Now we party. It's a huge party, but the actual like ceremony thing was like more private, you know? And then that's like the reception.
I kind of like that. I feel like can I give you a note?
Absolutely.
I feel like make it shorter than an hour.
Okay. Yeah. So like 3 hours, a 3 hour, 6 half-hour miniseries.
No, shorter.
Got it.
No,
so
shorter.
7 half-hour miniseries.
No.
8 1-hour miniseries.
This is like anti. Does it mean before or after? No, I'm saying go shorter. Go shorter. Just because once everyone's gathered, they're going to want to be social. I mean, unless it's truly like in a screening room or something.
Right.
I think this is a good idea. It's really
like
hard. It's really hard. Like choosing this stuff is really hard because we had like a tiny, very meaningful, special wedding, but it didn't feel, we didn't have like a DJ and dancing, and it didn't feel celebratory. We only had like a tiny amount of dancing. Like there wasn't like, okay, come out on the dance floor, you know? And that's what, so those are all the things that I feel like, it would have been fun to have like just like that feeling of like a big celebration. Like that's what we had, the meaningfulness, but not the big celebration, woohoo kind of aspect of it. So
that's why I feel like you kind of got to do both, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. And the people who come to the screening are not obligated to buy you an expensive gift if they do not want to. You know what I mean? Like that's like don't worry about it. Because I feel like sometimes it's like the weddings are like, this is going to be a $60,000 party. I better recoup my cost and you know, register at Tiffany or something. But I don't know. I realized too when I came on your Thursday show to tell you this story, I was like, I'm so used to typically being very like self-deprecating that I realized I found it difficult to tell an engagement story that wasn't self-deprecating, because even when it comes to like getting nominated for an award or getting something or booking a show, like I can find a way to make myself like the butt of the joke. But when you get engaged, you can't really you can't really do that because it's not just your story. You know what I mean? So I didn't realize that I was like uncomfortable being like, I'm just so lucky and just like, and I'm just like never felt happier, because I think it's like not my vibe. So yeah, I realized I didn't really know how to tell that story.
Yes, you made a comment about that, but I thought you told it fine, but I know what you mean. Yeah, I thought it made sense and it was funny. But yes, I know what you mean. Okay, now going back to what we were talking about before, about you feeling like you didn't quite fit in when you moved into LA. Yeah. When you moved to LA. What was your hair, the important part, what was your hair color at that point?
Allison, this is why you're a world-class interviewer. Literally. Right before I moved to LA, I stripped it from black to my natural brown color. Now,
did you just have a sense that LA wasn't going to take to your black hair?
Yeah, I remember I was dating my high school boyfriend still at the time, and his mom, Mary Fahey, was so sweet. And the Faheys are great. And she was like, you're going to move to, I think it was about right before I moved to LA, I think. And she was like, if you've ever thought about getting your hair back to your natural color, and she was like, I'd love to treat you. And because I think she thought it would be more helpful for me. And I'm sure that it was. But it was I was like, I felt like if you had like a goth badge, it's like turning in your goth badge.
Yeah,
like totally. At the bureau and being like, all right, it's been a good run. And so like we're having natural brown hair and then wearing like light blue a lot was such a stark difference.
Right.
From me wearing like black wool in the summer with like, blue black hair. But I started dyeing it, I dyed it black again, like in my late 20s for a little bit. And then I got it stripped again and it turned bright red in between. And he was like, don't worry, we'll get it back to brown. I was like, no, let's leave it. So I think red was like a good, don't worry, it's not my natural hair color. Right. But it wasn't as harsh as black.
Right.
Settled.
Interesting. Maybe my black hair is holding me back.
No. I mean, I think whatever feels authentic is the best. You know what I mean?
Well, my black hair is authentic, but I mean, I do have this thought of like, am I going to have the exact same hair color for my entire life? Like, you only have one life. I mean, depending on what you believe, but you only have one life. Why not like see what it's like being blonde, see what it's like being this, being that? But all of it seems like work, and I'm just like a very lazy person.
It is a lot of work, but it's also fun to experiment and to say, this is my body and it's my hair. I'm gonna give myself a skunk. I'm gonna give myself a purple skunk if I want to.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna shave
I
on one
know.
side, you know? Whatever. Cut bangs. Text your crush. You're gonna die. Might as well. That's my advice.
Would you like to hear some drops that so my former producer who loved to collect drops had a folder of unused drops, and there's some Alie Ward unused drops in there.
Oh my God.
Would you like to hear them?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Retrospective. All about butts.
So I think did I play these ones
remember
already
that
on the
one.
show or just for you?
I think all about butts I have heard before.
Okay.
Burrito butt.
Oh, here's
Yes.
another burrito butt. No, it's the same one. I think it's the same one.
Burrito butt. Burrito butt.
Felt a
I
little-
love a burrito butt.
Do my boobs look weird? Okay.
Oh, hey.
Let's see.
Oh. Sriracha.
Were you talking about like sriracha?
Sriracha. I don't know. It sounds like a place I'd like to vacation, though. We got an Airbnb in Sriracha.
This might be us. This might be talking about the kind of weather that I hate.
Sunny as fuck.
I don't know what this is.
What?
And then what's
Hey, Mom, where's the gorilla gonna live? Oh, yes. That's
What
when
was
you're
that?
home buying. That's when you're home buying and you don't want to live someplace and you're on you're on an open house and you start asking your mom about like exotic pets and which room they get to inhabit.
You know what? Maybe these weren't. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm wrong. These were not unused. These were the Alie Ward drops because I remember this one.
Ooh, Sephora.
Yes. So there
I do miss
also
that.
are some unused ones, and those were aired again. Patreon.com/Allison Rose, and Jeff came on and played all the unused drops. I think those are there, or maybe it was just my unused drops. I don't know.
Who knows?
My gosh, Allie.
We're 11 months into a pandy. What can I say?
I know.
What can I say? Ugh.
So
Can
tell
I
me
tell
about-
you?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. What were you going to ask?
Well, I wanted to know about the Michelle Obama show, but I wanted to know what you were going to say.
Oh, it's called Waffles and Mochi. It comes out on March 16th, and it's a kids show about food, and it's so interesting. I got to consult on it in 2019. I got to consult on like the science of it and explain to the writer's room like how taste buds work and all kinds of stuff.
That's so
And,
cool. Did they just reach out to you? Like, we need a science person?
Yeah, you know what? I think it was through Jeremy Connor who did Drunk
Oh,
History.
yeah.
Was like you know what happened is I saw him in Gelson's. Oh, what's up, dude?
Wait, was it the Silver Lake Gelsons?
Of course it was. Of
know that
course it
Gelson's,
was.
yeah.
And you know what I was buying
Not
that day?
the Silver Lake Gelsons. What am I saying?
The
I'm saying
Hyperion.
the one. Is it the one that's by UCB?
No. Not the Franklin.
Okay.
It was the Hyperion one that used to be Walt Disney Studio.
I don't think I know this one.
Back in the day.
I need to take
It's
my
right on
authentic
Hyperion.
hair there.
Yeah. I ran into him. We started talking about I think we started talking about gluten intolerance or something in an aisle, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm glad I ran into you because there's this show that I'm working on." So who knows? You know what I mean? What's the moral is
Go to Gelson's.
go to Gelson's. That is where meetings happen.
Wow,
that is
that's
where
so cool.
lives are made, deals are made. No, but yeah, I haven't even been. I can't even tell you the last time I went there. I don't know.
I haven't been grocery shopping for the entire pandemic, and anyone who follows me knows every time I go to the grocery store, I fall in love with my husband again. It's like the only activity we would do. And I would always find myself hugging him in the frozen food aisle. And I was just like, what? I'm feeling so in love with you right now. Only when we're looking at frozen dinners. I don't know what it was, but
I wonder why. You must have like an oxytocin release when
I
you're
see
like,
lean cuisine,
resource gathering or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. And also I think it's a little bit cold over there. And I don't know, but I haven't been there in so long. Anyway, are you on air on Waffles and Mochi?
No.
Just behind
I was
the
the
scenes.
science consultant behind the scenes, so I just
That
got
is
to bring all my books in and stuff.
So
Yes.
cool. And now
it's been fun.
you posted about it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then it disappeared really fast. Like before I even had a chance to congratulate you. What happened?
Oh, I prematurely posted about it. They were like so nice. They reached out and they're like, hey, we're not really announcing everyone that has worked on it. So I think they just announced the showrunners. So if you could just, and I was like, so sorry, so very embarrassed. It would be like if you just like walked right up to the queen and accidentally kissed her on the mouth and they're like, can you not? And you're like, I'm so sorry. Just got excited. I was excited. I will do that never again. So that I learned that way. But then I'm consulting on this other show called The Ada Twist Scientist. And they actually named me in the trades so I can
very
post
cool.
about it all I want.
That's so
So that's
cool.
great. Yeah. So I've been loving doing that. It's really cool to have writers have like scientific problems to solve in a plot and be like, oh, okay, I got a fix for that. If you make this thing and this thing, you can use this, and then it helps them solve their problem. So it's been fun.
What did you major in?
Biology and film. So both. And so I was like, couldn't decide. I was waffling and mochiing and I was like, I don't know. But, so I ended up graduating with film, but I had like a background in biology. So, but I just like, I always was reading science books and stuff and then doing Ologies because it's like 180 episodes or something with these different really small topics. I ended up doing all these deep dives and all these different ologies where now if I'm consulting on something, it's like, oh, okay, I know an animal that does this thing. So it's ended up with like, have this like Cliff Clavin horrible like bowl of facts that I can draw from.
Right. Is there anything, this is going to be a broad question, is there anything that you were totally wrong about and then you did an ologies and it's like, oh, like you used to believe this, but now you know it's this, or...
Oh, a ton. I'm sure a ton of things. Yeah. I mean, I've picked up a lot. Actually, picking up a lot about anxiety was really helpful. I did this episode called Fearology, and this woman, Mary Poffenroth.
I like that name.
Isn't it the best name?
Mary Poffins.
Mary Poffenroth. She's not British, but she has a very British name.
I really wish she was.
I know. She could fake it.
Yeah.
I'll let her know.
Let her know.
She's great though, but she explained like how all anxiety is fear, and there are factual fears and fictitious fears. And if essentially I made a flow chart that was like, can this thing kill you? If yes, run. And if no, chill. So there are, factual fears. And then the fictitious fears are usually about being out of control or being not enough. So if you have anxiety, ask yourself, okay, tell yourself this is fear. What am I afraid of? Is it a fictitious fear, like something that could happen? Or is it something right now that's threatening your actual life? Like most of the time it's fictitious. And then ask yourself, is this me being afraid of being out of control or me being afraid of not being good enough? And like breaking down your fears, that helps in conflict resolution so much. There's so many times when people want to fight each other because they feel not good enough. And instead of having to say like, I don't feel good enough right now, it's like, fuck you for maybe thinking I'm not good enough, when really the fear is inside you. So,
I just wrote down out of control, not good enough. So I know.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anything, whether it's like making a presentation for work or getting on a dating app or whatever, a lot of the things that give us anxiety are just, are those ways that we're trying to insulate ourselves. My procrastination, absolutely. So that was really helpful. That was something that I just was like, yeah, I should have paid her.
Do you, get depressed?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, totally.
Do you lean more towards anxiety versus depression?
Yeah, for sure. and I had to explain this to Jarrett at one point. He was like, it would be so good if you just got a hobby that you didn't monetize, just something you did for fun's sake. Because like I turn a lot of my hobbies into jobs. And I was like, it's not that I don't want to go whittle on the porch.
Whittling.
I am whittling, right? I want to whittle on the porch. I want to do that more, even though I cut myself so bad the first time I passed out. But I still want to do it. I got safety gloves. I'm all good. Like, I want to sit and do like a paint by number. Like, I want to do, and it's not that I don't want to. Like in depression, I think you lose a lot of your zeal and your interest in things. For me, I want to do those things just as much, but I just feel anxious that I didn't earn it. Or that I should be doing something else. And so, but I do get depressed. I mean, I do definitely feel like I'm not good enough, or maybe what if people don't like me, or I got to get up and do another day. But I tend to lean more toward anxiety. But I am like, I started taking Effexor, which is an SNRI maybe like 2 years ago. And it's helped so much with just the spikes of anxiety.
Right.
You know? It's still there. You still got to do the work.
You are enough, Alie. You're enough.
Thank you.
You're in control. You're someone whose success I feel so happy about. It's like, it's one of those, it's affirming about the world, because it's like, someone who's like really talented, doing her own very unique thing, and people are reacting in this really wonderful way to it. It's just, it's so deserved, and so it's so nice. It's so fun to know you and to watch it happen.
Oh, thank you.
I feel very happy for you.
Here, it really is. I just really want to do the work justice. Like I don't want to disappoint anyone. I want to do it as well as I can, and leave whatever behind I can that does some good. Hopefully, while still being myself. And
now I feel like you're doing that though. But now a petty question.
Yeah.
I am always curious about the annoying DMs that people in the public eye get. And hearing other people write about them makes me go like, oh, this handful of comments that I received about this or that, like that's not unique. It's not really unique to me. Like those comments are of a type. Like, don't say this or don't do this or blah, 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 blah. But like, do you get them?
I do sometimes. Like I'll get like a podcast review that says I say like too much, or which is just so Californian, pretty much. Right. We can't help it.
He's lucky you don't drive a cabriolet.
So lucky I don't have a surfboard and my Jetta. Like, so much I want one. But yeah, I get those kinds of things. One guy once on Twitter told me I move my hands too much when I talk during my segments on camera.
Oh, wow.
And I look like I have Parkinson's. And I was like, this is offensive to so many people on so many levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was a turd. I was like, you look like a turd. I've gotten that before. What other kinds of things do people tell me I should do? I feel like I'm pretty good at ignoring them. But sometimes if someone leaves something shitty, a comment, I'm like, you're erased, dude. I won't let your shitty I feel like some people are like, I can't erase any bad comments. I have to let the record reflect. And like, number one, this is your Instagram page is not a court document. If someone says something shitty about you or about your beliefs or something, they did not earn your following. So why give them the platform? Like, it's your platform.
I recently changed my mind about it.
How do you feel?
Now I feel like, fuck it, delete it. Who cares? They don't. Before I would, if it was something really atrocious, I would delete it. But like, I always felt a little shady deleting something or guilty or something.
I totally get that.
This comedian and like mommy blogger and cookbook author, Sarah Buckley, posted something that's like, don't delete comments. Get the fuck out. I don't even let my husband talk to me that way. And he pays most of my bills and makes me come. And then I thought about it. Yeah. Like you don't have to
This
let
isn't
people
your house.
talk to you that. And we wouldn't let anyone talk to us that way. So why am I going to let someone talk to me that way in the comment section?
Yeah. This
So-
is like whatever platform you earned with as many eyeballs or whatever. Or if you're an influencer, maybe you bought your platform. Either way, like this person doesn't have the platform to share. They want to say that on their own platform. Great. But that's like coming into your house where you are having a party and getting on where you're not invited and getting on a bullhorn. So I just think that if someone said, and I think the place where I found this the most is I did this vaccine infodemiology episode in the beginning of January with this really great vaccine infodemiologist. And she, it was a great episode. It was all about vaccine technology and, the epidemic. And a few people just strolled up into my comments to mention their own distrust of vaccines, which is fine, but saying things to me about how dare I give a pro-vaccine platform, and I'm just like, just leaving this comment here is adding to the distrust. Like, it's giving a very small minority a really big platform that they didn't earn or deserve.
Right.
And also, I don't like to see my followers get nasty. Like, sometimes my followers, if someone says something shitty to me, sometimes like 10 followers will be like, like, your mom's a donkey or whatever. And I'm like, nobody needs to, we're good here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like, let's kick the guy out of the bar instead of having every single patron in the bar kick this person's ass.
Right.
Like, just get him out of the bar.
Right.
So I'm like 86 but it doesn't happen too often. But when it does, I'm just like, you didn't earn this. Get out.
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
also,
So
I feel like
support
the
that.
anti-vax people, and I can be more strident about this, I feel like they're trolls, basically.
I have different opinions on it. Like, even the term anti-vax has now become, a little inflammatory. Vaccine hesitant is a way to refer to it. And I mean, I look back on it the same way that we just looked at fear and anxiety. I think that a fear of a medical technology is understandable and justifiable. Maybe you got your information from different sources. Maybe it's a loss of fear of control of your own body. Maybe it's, I have a feeling people who with vaccine hesitancy aren't like, I'm afraid that I'm not good enough, but it's a fear for your life. This thing might kill me, or it's not my choice to make. And so I think, it's bad information, but it's a really vocal and sometimes really caustic.
I remember some years ago trying to put myself in their shoes, and I did understand it. Someone who won't vaccinate their kids, even though I feel like you're endangering your children, they think they are making the right decision for their children. They're afraid of letting the man, put some substance that they distrust into their body. Like, that does make perfect sense. So, and they're afraid. Like, I do have compassion. For me, it's like the people who are super conspiracy theorists and like crazy, that's actually not fair. There are some, I have less compassion for the super, like the Q people. But then, if it's just someone who is afraid of a vaccine, I mean, I do have compassion for. I don't know how to reach those people, though.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like, and being like a science communicator in an era where science was very distrusted.
Yeah.
I think I went on Bill Nye's podcast. He started a podcast and they asked me to be the first guest. And I had diarrhea. I was so nervous. And the worst part is it was in New York and I woke up late that day and I barely made it on time. I was like 10 minutes late. Maybe I just like slept through my alarm. So I was like,
wait, was it remote or you went there?
No, this was anti-pandy.
Oh,
thank you very much. And I had to be at like the Sirius Studios or the Stitcher Studios. And I was just like, fuck. So I like was nervous on so many levels. But he was talking about like flat earthers and climate deniers, like how do you get through to them? And it was just like, I feel like fear is behind most of it. But and trying to just like have compassion for what they're afraid of and hopefully like use facts and like I definitely get where you're coming from. And I mean the biggest thing about vaccine hesitancy that we've seen like in moms, in the last maybe decade or 2 decades is just came from one particularly bad study from a super corrupt gastroenterologist who used a really small sample size. And then this guy's name was Andrew Wakefield and it got retracted, but that lingers on as like a memory in a lot of people. So it's just bad information and then, double downing on it. But I have friends who are medical doctors who are giving the vaccine to people in New York because it's, like ground zero for this in last year, and get horrible comments on their Instagrams or get attacked by people with flyers as they're going into they're like, I'm going into the COVID ward at like a New York City hospital. So it's really tough. I just think that like, I don't know. I think I may be a little bit too compassionate with people. Like I got mugged at knife point. I remember being like, shit, well, I memorized their license plate. I hate to turn these kids in, but that was not right. I remember being like, shit, it's really going to ruin their lives if I tell the cops that they just came at me with a knife and stole my property and took my purse, So I don't know. I think I'm probably a little bit too forgiving.
Yeah.
I don't know. I try to find find reasons for, but maybe that's because I'm so hard on myself. I'm kind of like, well, everyone's just a little scrambled. But I mean, I think that if you can just understand that I feel like most people have like tiny babies in them that are constantly hurt. So if you approach people like, we're all tiny babies, we're all really scared.
It's so
scary
true.
Time,
It's so true.
Helpful. And I don't know, maybe that's why I don't get a lot of haters. Maybe I'm just too nice. Like I'm too like, if someone disagrees with me online, like that's the thing is like, I'll sometimes get people online being like, hey, you said something that wasn't super inclusive and I wanted to let you know, like I did a gynecology episode in 2018 that was all about women's health. And I included trans women as well. I was like, okay, I got this. And then it came out and I got a flood of messages that were like, you completely eliminated trans men who would see a gynecologist and still have vaginas.
Right.
And non-binary people who don't identify as a woman or a man. And that was just something I just didn't know about. I thought I was being like really inclusive. I was like, haha, I got this.
Yeah.
And I got schooled and I was like, okay.
Was it done in a nice way or in a scolding way?
One or two people were like, wow. And I was just like, I remember the time being like, I tried really hard. I thought I did the right thing. I tried, It's hard not to get a little bit defensive. And I was like, I really did. Nobody be mad at me. And then, I talked to a ton of people and I got like a really great education on why that stung. And since then I've learned obviously so much more and I know how to do it better, but I feel like what happens is a lot of times if someone's like, hey, you didn't do this quite right, the person receiving it is like, oh yeah, well, fuck you. And I don't care, and it's just like makes it so much worse. And it's just be like, you have to trust that the person who's calling you out is the same kind of person that wants to be like, hey, you've got a little thing right there in the other tooth, So I always take it as like, thanks for the heads up,
So I went through a phase, pinworms.
Oh yeah.
I didn't,
unless it's a new app I don't know about. Like if pinworm with like no vowels is a new app, I don't know pinworm. But if you're talking about things that crawl out of your butt, I know a lot about them.
I had never heard of them. So when I learned that this is a thing, and I think I heard about it on like an episode of, we mentioned Paul Rust earlier, that show Love. I think that there was like a joke about pinworms. I was like, what is that? And I looked up, I'm like, oh my God, this is like all of my fears in one. It just combines everything I am afraid of. It made me regret having children. They've not had it, but and it was like a thing that I would take them to a play space and I would see the ball. This is in the anti-pen. Wait, anti is before. What is it?
It's before.
Okay,
Anti-pandy.
look, see?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Anti is before.
It's never going to catch on. No, it's never the whole.
My problem is that it's because prey is after and they're both A, and it is confusing to me.
It is very confusing.
And in the anti-pan.
Yeah, sure.
I would see a ball pit. And I was just like, all the pinworm eggs are all over that. And I would be nervous about it. To me, lice was the thing you are afraid of, in my day. But this pinworm thing, and to read about it, and it like, you can't avoid it. It's just, it crosses all social. Anyway,
Yeah,
and it's
in
everywhere.
sandboxes. It's everywhere.
And everywhere. So
Yeah.
I even asked the pediatrician, about like how much do we need to worry about this? And she's like, well, it's really not an issue until they're toilet trained and they're wiping themselves. It's like, oh, thank God. So now but now, thank God, the pandemic came along, so I don't need to worry about it. But anyway,
If you ever see a ball pit, I'll just show up with my Clorox wipes
Okay.
and just one by one.
but it kept coming up on the show because it's
Ugh.
where my head was.
Yeah.
And a listener wrote in and was like, for the love of God, or I don't know what she said, something like it felt very harsh to me. And it was just like, stop fucking talking about pinworms. No one gives a fuck about pinworms.
Okay.
It's just like, that's not
Yikes.
exactly what she said, but it was
Yeah.
something like that. And
Yeah.
by the way, I believe she is still a regular listener. She is lovely. If she's hearing this, I'm sorry that I just spent all this
Sorry that
time
we're talking about
it.
pinworms again.
Yeah, and also that I just misrepresented how she contacted me. But that's how it felt. I don't remember what she said, but it felt that way to me.
Yeah.
It felt like someone like
Right.
yelling at me over it, and I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
And I think I DM'd, I wrote back or so. Anyway, long story short, like this person ended up DMing me and saying she had it. It was really upsetting for an array of reasons. And it like this just brought it back up for her. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And we talked about it and I stopped talking about it probably till now. But because the way it was stated with this authority, like everyone is sick of you talking about this.
Right.
That I had this reaction where I got defensive, but then when I understood that maybe everyone's talking about it, but actually it's just she personally was hurt by it, then I'm like, oh, I can totally hear that.
Yeah. And that's the thing is if people call you out ever, it's typically because they're hurt by something and they're just asking to be heard. And, I rarely get into flame wars because usually if someone has a criticism with me, I'm usually like, yeah, I agree.
Right.
I'm like, that's pretty good. Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
I just take it like hey, you've got mustard on your face.
Right.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And I just take it as like a free
free louse.
life lesson. But and so I think when I see people who get very like, well, fuck you, it's kind of like, well, you're not learning anything. And there are there are so many ways that you're just like, and it's been such a joy to learn about like inclusive things, of, people that just have different experiences than I do. And I did an interview, back on gender stuff. I did an interview with a scientist who was really binary, studies in men this and studies in women this. And he was an older scientist, and he was not going to include non-binary people in that. And so I did a little aside that was just like, hey, I know this is really binary, non-binary folks. I see you, love you, and just because I wanted to cover those bases, right? And I got like an email the next week from someone who was like, I was driving down the freeway in Alabama. I'm non-binary and trans. Like, it is not easy to feel accepted here. This is like in 2018, 2019 or something. And it was like, I heard that in the road. It just like burst out crying.
Aww.
And it's these things where you're like, it's not just like there's someone policing me, telling me I'm bad. It's like these are
right.
For all those feelings are like people being like, hey, this kind of hurts.
Yeah.
And if you wouldn't say something mean to someone's face, or if you wouldn't intentionally like not include them, then why do it over the internet? So it's just like it's always like the positive of things, of being like, how good is someone going to feel being included, instead of like, how much trouble am I going to get into if I say it wrong? It's like, if you say it wrong and someone corrects you, you're welcome.
Right. Yeah.
Do better, and then people feel better later. So I don't know. I think like that like being the less defensive you are, I feel like, I always feel like, have you ever heard that in a car crash, it's always the people who are drunk who survive because they don't tense their muscles up?
No, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, people who are drunk tend to be like sometimes sole survivors because they're just like they
loose.
have slower reactions.
Yeah.
Loosey goosey. And I do feel like in general, the less you like tense up in a situation, the better off you're going to be. Says the lady
I'm not proud of ever having a defensive reaction, but I think
it happens to all of us
because I'm like, no, I'm a good person. I'm trying to be kind. Don't you see? I'm trying, but I totally hear what you're saying, and I know. Like I was not able to breastfeed. I tried everything. I pumped. I took the herbs. I saw lactation. Blah, 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 blah. It's like a structural issue. I did not produce milk. I produced like a few drops. I produced in a day. And I measured it. I could produce 1/90th of what my baby would need, and it was hard for me because culture is right now. There's such an emphasis on breastfeeding. And so I still have this reaction when I see something that's like talks to women as if breastfeeding is the only option and everyone is able to do it. And it's like, yes, I get that I don't know that I'm in the minority of people who choose formula, but I'm in the minority of being in a situation where like I have like I think it's like hypoplasia or something. It's like like not enough, like the tissue it's like a structural thing. But still it would be nice to have at least like a nod or a wink to the people who are not members of the dominant culture in that regard. So I like, I'm not saying of course, and therefore I can understand anyone who feels they're not included. I'm just saying we all have our own things like that.
Yeah.
Where it hurts. Yeah.
And, I think that is why I always feel like, especially, like white folks and white women and the Karens of the world, like, there's this notion of, like being caught not being inclusive enough. And if you just think about how good it feels to feel recognized and included and let that drive you instead of the fear I'm going to do it wrong.
Right.
It's just like, it's so much more rewarding and it's so much more authentic and it ends up being so much more. It's like at the root of it isn't about like cancellation. At the root of it, all anyone's asking for is compassion. All anyone's asking for is like, see me as a person, understand that my experience might be different than yours and just validate it. No one's like, but I feel like if you are coming from a place of, I just don't want to screw up publicly.
Right.
It's too much pressure and I'm sick of being pressured. Like that's like not from his like a place of
higher
like,
self
growth, And I feel like it's that way with work too. Whenever I'm stressed out about something, I'm like, I have to do a good job or everyone's gonna be mad at me, or like this episode isn't good enough. The episode isn't as good as when I'm just like, I'm gonna make something fun and stupid, So loosening up is like apparently the key to life.
Totally.
Who knew?
Totally.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I have that whenever I have a guest where I really want to impress them with like, she asks such inquisitive questions and she's really thoughtful and contemplative. Like some of those go okay, but oftentimes I walk away like that. The show isn't supposed to be about that, And so that's kind of egocentric actually to make it about that. Whereas like it's more fun when I can just fuck around with filters with you.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like the advice I try to come back to is just show up like you belong and have fun and as much as you can. Because in those situations where you're like, I don't feel like I belong here. What if I screw up? What if I'm not good enough? And I have to be in control and not do anything wrong. And then you end up like a blander version of yourself shows up. And this like weird like two-dimensional cardboard cutout of a good you shows up, and then like anything that's weird and interesting, you're like, I won't expose this, which is like the good part, So just like show up like you belong and act weird is probably
I know. I wish I could redo all the auditions I ever went on because those were always like, I don't belong here. I have to. What do you want? Let me try to be what you want. which is like they don't want that. They want someone to come in and rock their world.
Yeah, it's like the blue shirt version.
Yes.
The blue shirt era.
Yes. Alie Ward, I could just talk to you all night, and there's so many things we didn't get to. So what this means is you just have to come back soon.
Yes, please.
Come back on my Thursday show, please. We got to do a Patreon follow-up with more beans. We can spill all the beans.
Can people find that Patreon episode where I spilled all those beans?
Yeah.
Nice.
They can find it. Yeah, if you sign up for Patreon, you get all the back Patreon stuff too. Patreon.com/Allison Rosen, weekly bonus episodes, videos, behind the scenes content, Allie's Beans, Zoom parties, super fun stuff. And also, if you would like to subscribe for an annual subscription, you get a savings. You get 2 months free. So it's 12 months for the price of 10. You can't afford not to. Also, if you like what you're hearing, please make sure you're subscribed. And if you would be so kind as to leave a nice review, 5 stars is my favorite number. If that's genuinely how you feel, which I hope it is, that helps people find the show so much. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube as well, youtube.com/Allison Rosen. Also, I have an Amazon storefront where I have been just gathering stuff that I like and use regularly. You can shop my podcast gear, my beauty stuff, house stuff for the kids, all that stuff. Amazon.com/shop/Allison Rosen, Amazon.com/shop/Allison Rosen, and follow me on social media at Allison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram. And also I'm on Cameo. And also I read something very recently that's like, if you have like more than 2 or 3 calls to action, then it just like it creates paralysis. So therefore I just laid out like 7 of them.
Good.
That's right.
Buck the system. There's links in the show notes too. People know.
That's right. Yeah.
That
Alie,
intrigues me.
What?
Put a link in the show notes.
Where can everyone find you, and what should they look for?
I'm on Instagram at Instagram.com/Alie Ward with 1 L, ALIEWARD. I'm on Twitter. I'm also Ologies is at both of those things at Ologies, OLOGIGIES.
Yeah.
Yes. My podcast is called Ologies, and we talk about all kinds of stuff. So there's, if you go to my website, alieward.com, and you click on topics, episodes by topic, you can see all kinds of topics like history and food and human body and stuff. So just pick whatever. So yeah, Ologies is my podcast, and that's about it. And if you do go to Allison's Patreon, I talk about how I met my fiance and what we did the first night we met in public.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, here, let me put myself on the screen too, so you can see my big eyes over the. Wow, that's an earful. Oh my God,
sure is. Yeah,
you'll be scandalized, but just gently scandalized.
Yeah, I tell juicier stories on Patreon. So have me on a Patreon one soon, and I'll
love
do some
to.
good dishing.
I would love to.
Yeah,
Alie, so wonderful seeing you. I can't believe I haven't seen you in person for months and many moons.
Yeah, but like none of us have seen like a doctor in person. Like I haven't seen my dentist in like a year and a half now.
Oh, it's been longer. It's been longer for me. I'm never going to go. I'm going to always keep my body up to date with like all my things, because I haven't been to the dentist since I was in my second trimester with Owen, and he's turning 2 tomorrow. Woo! So it's been some time.
I'm worried. they're going to go in there and just be like, wow. So yeah, but I can't wait. As soon as we all get vaccinated, come to my film premiere of my 7-minute documentary about my wedding.
Maybe that's too short. That's right.
It's always lovely being here. Thank you for
TikTok.
having me on.
It was so wonderful. Thank you so much. I love you. Listeners, I love you. You matter. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen Show? We had a good time